So what I'm saying about music is, remember those songs from your childhood. I was using that example, whether it's Old MacDonald at a Farm or Jacques or Sally Goes Round the Roses or whatever those childhood chants were that were very important. You notice not only those little childhood chants, but even songs that we heard on the radio when we were little, we remember them. You know, this points out a very important principle, and that's that sound doesn't disappear. Every sound is somewhere in the universe. It doesn't evaporate or disappear. We live in this vibrational universe of sound, and every sound ever uttered, ever made is still present. You know, whether it's within the hearing bandwidth is something else. We only hear from about 14 or 15 hertz on the low end to about 20,000 hertz on the high end. And after you're about 18 or 20 years old, you lose some of the high end. So it might only be around 18,000 hertz. But everybody's different. Some people might hear a little above 20,000 hertz, some people a little below. It's not a big deal because that's a fairly significant hearing bandwidth from 15 hertz to 20,000, but it's not a complete bandwidth. A lot of sounds are ultrasonic, which means they're above 20,000 hertz. We all know about dog whistles that dogs can hear and we can't. Well, that's because dogs hear up to 40,000 cycles per second or hertz. And a lot of people aren't aware, and I mentioned this in my book, Sound Medicine, that cats hear even higher than dogs. Cats hear up to 60,000 cycles per second, where dogs just hear up to 40,000 cycles. And we know that if you've ever had a dog whistle or a dog and you blow the whistle, we don't hear it, but the dogs hear it. Their ears perk up because they hear up to 40,000 cycles per second. But cats hear up to 60,000 hertz, and they just don't have the low end that we have and the dogs have. The lower frequencies that we hear, that the cats don't hear the lower frequencies, but they hear higher frequencies than we do on the high end. But then you look at other creatures like dolphins and orcas, and you know, they have the highest hearing range. They hear about 10 times what we hear. There's research that shows that they hear anywhere from 150 to 200,000 cycles per second, which is roughly about 10 times the human bandwidth. And that's why it's kind of amusing to me that people, you know, swim with dolphins in Hawaii or California or wherever, and the dolphins are communicating with sonar, and they're wondering, I guess, they're probably wondering why we don't communicate back with them. So they don't realize that perhaps that we don't have the hearing bandwidth that they do, not to mention understanding dolphin talk or sonar sound wave frequencies. But anyway, so these frequencies obviously occur in life, not just in music, but I just wanted to use music as an analogy to understand that we remember these songs from childhood, and they don't go away. So if you think about how important brainwave entrainment is in that context, you can imagine that once something is put in the brainwave pattern, it generally stays there. And so you can release it with toning release work if you have an excess frequency. And that's the only thing that takes a little effort. The brainwave entrainment is so wonderful because it doesn't take up any time, you know, and when you put, you know, sound back into the brain, you can do it while you're doing other things. So let me back up a minute and just explain, like, music, a little bit about understanding entrainment and the songs that, and why certain songs stick in our head and others don't. You know, most songs go in one ear and out the other, and we don't remember them because we don't have a particular need for the frequencies in that song. Most people don't understand that the reason a song sticks on our head is twofold. The first reason a song sticks on our head is because there's something in that song that our brain needs. Our brain and our body is deficient in a particular frequency that's present in that song. And so and we may not know what it is. It's not even all that important what it is. It could be the key of the song. It could be the primary note or notes in the chorus. It could be any number of things. But the point is that we have this storage place in the brain where we store these memories or these frequencies. But when we're drawn to a particular song that sticks in our head, like I said, it's twofold. There's two energies. The first one is that something in that note, whether it's a key or a note or whatever, or a rhythm that we need. The brain always gravitates towards what it needs. It's not necessarily what we want. Because I've had people, young people in particular, say, oh, so if I listen to my favorite R&B song over and over every day, it's going to be healing. And, you know, they're missing the point entirely. I'm not talking about the brainwave entrainment or the repetition of any song being healing. What I'm talking about is understanding the principle of entrainment. And then I explain how to use it. But first you have to understand, you know, the principle of entrainment through the analogy or example of music. Then you can start to apply it to sound and sound therapy. Okay, so as I was saying, the second factor of the song sticking in your head is the repetition. The first, there's something in that song that you need, or your brain wouldn't gravitate to it and run the pattern in your head, and you wouldn't remember it. The second aspect of it is the repetition. Even if you need something in that song, if you just hear it once, it's not going to stick in your head. It doesn't entrain the brainwave pattern hearing it once. And usually it doesn't even twice. I mean, it might be possible. I mean, I'm not a scientist and I haven't studied that particular part of that research, but perhaps people that are super sensitive or have perfect pitch, maybe it's possible after hearing something twice that it could entrain. But in my experience, it usually takes about 3 or 4 times of hearing a song before it starts to entrain. But remember, the other factor has to be present as well, that you need it. If there's nothing in that song that you need, it's not going to entrain unless, like those childhood ditties, and you know, you hear it constantly every day, over and over and over again. I mean, anything will entrain if you hear it constantly every day. And you know, that's how I'm told that they use in some brainwashing techniques and in some tortures in these countries and stuff. You know, there's a lot of weird things that they do with the brain, and I don't even want to think about that a little, let alone talk about it. So we're just talking about the principle of brainwave entrainment. So in any case, remember those 2 factors need to be present. 1, there's something we need in that frequency or in that sound. And 2, there's the repetition of hearing it at least 3 or 4 times. So if you look at a song like nowadays, and forget about the past momentarily, and just think about a current song, a pop song or something that you're humming or is sticking in your mind. Well, you didn't go to the park and practice that song. You know, you didn't sit down on a park bench and say, well, let's see, the chorus goes up and then the bridge goes down and then the verse repeats. You didn't do any of that. You know, you didn't take the time or the effort to study that song to learn it. It just entrained automatically. You find yourself singing that song one day, you know, humming the melody or singing the words or whatever it was. And so this tells us, you know, if we look closely at this musical entrainment phenomena, we can learn a lot from it. So the first thing we learn is that we didn't have to put any energy into it. We didn't have to sit down and study it. So that's one of the beautiful, easy things about entrainment, is it happens and occurs naturally. But we can control it. We don't have to just arbitrarily let anything entrain in our brainwave pattern. That wouldn't necessarily be healthy. And that's why people get into unhealthy eating patterns and unhealthy social patterns and all sorts of things that then become repetitive and become bad habits. So entrainment is inherent in our life, and the repetition of any particular habits, you know, will form a particular entrainment. So, so if you think about the energy that you're taking in that song, so the first thing we learn is we don't have to practice anything. It's just the repetition that entrains in the brainwave pattern. So that's why the song is not healing, because even though there was something in the song that attracted us and the repetition of it entrained in our brainwave pattern, don't be led to think that that song is going to be healing. It's not. And I'll tell you, the reason why. The first reason why it's not healing is because of the way things are recorded these days with digital technology and computers. Most people, if you haven't been in the recording studio, you don't know how recordings are made. You're not hearing this corporate rock and corporate BS that you hear on the radio is not even really music for the most part. I mean, in Los Angeles, the only radio station that I ever listen to when I have time to listen to is public radio of KCRW. And they play all sorts of music from jazz to pop to indie to all sorts of music. And you can at least hear a varied variety of different styles of music without the corporate brainwashing of most pop music aficionados and corporate heads that run the music industry. And so that's one thing. It's nice to find a public radio station or someplace where you can hear a freer output of music. But even still, the music nowadays is still recorded digitally with computers. And most people don't realize when you're hearing that saxophone or trumpet or keyboard or even the human voice, you're not actually hearing the voice or the saxophone or the trumpet. You're hearing a computer representation, a digitized version. You're not actually hearing the actual vibratory instrument. And this is important to understand because it affects you in the sense, that it doesn't affect you positively. It doesn't affect you in a healing context because you're getting bombarded with these digital frequencies. And so there's nothing healing in that. So that's the first reason music isn't healing, is the way it's produced. Now, we're not going to go into, live concerts. And I mean, I can tell you the effective sound in order from the best to the next best to the next best to the worst, if you're interested. I have the research. I even, share it in my workshops. In fact, I shared it here on Facebook 2 weeks ago, the, research that people were asking me about. But in any event, the point is that music is not healing. Firstly, because of the way it's created. And the second reason it's not healing is because you're not isolating the needed frequencies. If you know anything about music, and I don't even know that much about music. I mean, I know some about music, and I've written, music songs on my sound healing music CDs and downloads. I have 4 music CDs that I do, 2 of them I use in concert. The other 2 are more sonic tapestries, but 2 of my sound healing music downloads or CDs, albums, I do in sound healing concerts. So I do, sound healing music, but it's not music therapy. It's sound therapy music. There's a difference that I'm not going to get into right here because we need to stay focused. But in any event, so what I'm saying in regards to music is the repetition is what puts the sound back into your brain. But if you're listening to artificial music on the radio, you're getting artificial sound, and then you're not isolating the frequencies that you need. If there's a note or 2 notes or something, 2 frequencies in that song, for instance, that you need, it's being nullified and knocked out by the other frequencies that you don't need, and you might even have an excess of. So if you're getting 2 frequencies that you need in a song, and then you're getting 2 other frequencies that you have an excess of in your brainwave pattern, they're like canceling each other out. And so you don't get the benefit from it for that reason. Also, if you understand anything about music, you know that you got anywhere from 3 to 5 notes in a chord, in a musical chord. So let's say there's 4 notes in the musical chord, and let's say there's 5 chords in the song. Most pop songs have about 4 chords, 5 chords, something like that in a song. Some might have only 3 or 4 chords. Some songs might have 7 or 8 chords or even more, particularly when you get into jazz or classical music. But point is, let's say there's 5 chords in the song. There's 4 notes in a chord. 4 times 5 is 20 note frequencies. So if you got 20 note frequencies, how are you going to isolate the 1 or 2 frequencies that you're weak? And so it's not, it's not going to be effective. You're getting a potpourri. You're getting kind of a sonic stew, which is not going to help you. And so Anyway, I'm seeing, some more notes and questions, which I appreciate, but it'd be best if you save them to the end because I don't want to be distracted from the information I want to share with you. But, I see Natalie's been writing quite a bit. I appreciate that, but I see you believe intention is what is important when creating music in any form. Yes, intention is very important, and it's been talked about for 30 years from people like Wayne Dyer and Deepak Chopra and every other healer in the world. We all know about the power of intention, its importance in healing, but it's a lot more than intention. Intention is one of the 9 core keys to sound healing, which is the first webinar that I did. The next webinar on the 9 core keys to sound healing will be, I believe, on July 27th. I think is the Saturday that we go back to repeating that particular webinar. And you'll understand that it takes a lot more than intention to make successful healing. You can have the best of intentions, like these people, for instance, that are doing sound baths. They're lovely people, but they're not sound therapists. They don't know what they're doing. And if they give you a sound that you have an excess of in your brainwave pattern, it can exacerbate any physical or emotional issue. So I would avoid sound baths at all costs. They're dangerous. I don't judge anybody. I don't judge the people doing them. I have some good friends that do sound baths, and they know how I feel, but they've got to make a living, or they're having fun, or whatever their motivations are. They're good people, and they're well-intentioned. They have good intentions to support people, and they create lovely sounds with, crystal bowls and gongs and tuning forks and bells. And I have all that stuff. I have 4 didgeridoos. I have bells, bowls, and tuning forks. But the point is I rarely use them because the ultimate healing instrument is sitting right under your nose. Yes, the human voice. There is nothing that can come close to the power of the human voice. And this has been researched. It's absolutely true. The musical instruments are second, but they're only about 1/3 as effective as the human voice. And you need to have a diagnostic sound analysis to know which notes or frequencies to use with these artificial external instruments. Use the only instrument that's living, the human voice, and the only instrument that's connected to spirit, the human voice. So, people like to rationalize or defend their instruments, and I have tremendous respect for musicians, as well as all people. I don't judge anybody, but I do judge behavior, particularly if it's behavior that can be dangerous to you and harm your health. I'm here to support you and not to, to lead you astray with a lot of these people. Like I said earlier in my presentation, everybody in California thinks they're a sound healer, it seems like, with the number of sound baths and webinars that are popping up and everything. They're trying to, express their opinions, but it's better to be informed than be opinionated. I will repeat that because it's important, and I see so much stuff on Facebook and online. It's better to be informed than opinionated, so I would do some research and before you start spouting off on all these things that you read or heard or whatever. Just, be silent, study, work, and have your own experience. And then it doesn't matter what anybody says. You'll know what's real. You'll know what's true because you'll experience it within your own body. Okay, so back to the sound. As I pointed out, you're not going to get much benefit from the healing of from music because of the 2 things I mentioned. There's too much going on, like a sonic stew, and secondly, the way it's created with computers. But while we're talking about intention, that brings up another point here that I don't always mention, but I sometimes do. But since there are people out here that understand that you're aware of the power of intention and some other vibratory principles, I will mention that as well. The person that created that hit record that's sticking in your head, that you didn't have to go to the park to practice and memorize, it just entrained and maybe it's sticking in your head. Let's look at the intention of the person that created it. Did the person that created that piece of music that's entrained in your brainwave pattern, was their intention to heal your kidneys? Was their intention to heal your liver? Was their intention to help you balance your chakras or give you overall vibrational health and wellness support? I doubt it. You know, if their intention was to make $1 million or to get famous or to have more girlfriends, I mean, that's not going to help your health and wellness any. So, you know, look closely at all these factors and, you know, expand your awareness to understand what's going on here. So, you know, so when you're looking at intention, look at that aspect of intention. What's the intention behind these hit makers or popular singers and songwriters? You know, I'm not judging them. You know, I'm not saying that they're not nice people. I'm just talking about this in the context of healing and in the context of brainwave entrainment, because the repetition of those songs sticking in your head, I mean, it's not necessarily going to hurt you, although it could. You know, it's not necessarily going to, but it's certainly not going to help you or heal you. If you really want to get any healing benefits from sound and from entrainment, then study rural sound therapy. Study my book, Sound Medicine, and the 48 exercises that'll teach you all sorts of wonderful stuff that you can experience within your body. And you'll know what's real, regardless of what anybody tells you, whatever the research says. Have your own research, have your own personal experience. Okay, so getting back again to the entrainment and the musical aspect of it. So in addition to the two reasons that I mentioned why music isn't healing, then we've got the subtle energy one behind the intention, which is usually not for healing. So with sound therapy, we address these things. My harmonic recordings for brainwave entrainment are in every key and every frequency and every musical key for the proper entrainment. And if you've studied my correlative healing chart that I published in 1993, the correlative healing chart for sound therapy, you can see the colors that are associated with each musical note, because color is a frequency as well. You can also see the physical and emotional, well, some of the physical and emotional correlates associated with every musical note. And this is based on, you know, 30 years of research. Not only my personal research, but others' research that I compiled when I published this chart. It's one of my most popular products. It was distributed by my distributor, New Leaf Distribution in Atlanta, Georgia, worldwide for years. It was like my most popular product. People just like the information. It has the chakras, the colors, the levels of consciousness. There's all sorts of useful information in this little one-page chart that, you know, I sell for only $10 in a beautiful 10 mil laminated full color part. But when I published my book, Sound Medicine, I decided to include it for free. So you can get a large laminated version for 10 bucks, or you can get the book for $21.99 and get several charts, the correlative healing chart for sound therapy in there that you can learn a lot from without reading 8 or 9 different books. There's a lot of useful information right at your fingertips in that chart. So I can't talk about everything in this little presentation here, but let me get back to the analogy of the sound. So if you understand the songs that stick in your head, you didn't go to the park and practice them. It was just a repetition of it that stuck in your brainwave pattern, and you have these memories throughout your life. So why not put the proper frequencies and entrain those in your brainwave pattern? You know, after doing a diagnostic brain, voice, sound analysis, we completely and accurately identify what frequencies are weak, what frequencies are in excess, and what frequencies are okay. And then the ones that are weak, we entrain. You listen to those for a few minutes every day. I even give you a sonic prescription. Depending on how weak they are, I can tell you how many minutes. I can't tell you now because I don't know how weak or strong you are, how sensitive or insensitive you are. But after a sound analysis, I can tell you whether to listen to it for 5 to 8 minutes per day or 8 to 12 minutes per day, whatever it is. But keep in mind, you don't have to stop what you're doing. That's one of the beautiful things about sound therapy. When you're doing your brainwave entrainment, you can be doing other things. You can listen to your harmonics that you need that are weak in your brainwave pattern and putting them back by listening to them every day. And how long it takes depends on your sensitivity level. You might just entrain them in 2 weeks and you're good to go, but it could be 2 months. I mean, I don't have a reference point. I can't tell you that, but you might have some idea of your sensitivity level and get a at least have a rough guess and, maybe how long it might take you. But the important thing is to listen every day because it doesn't take up any of your time. You listen to the frequency that you're weak. Let's say the note of C, which, by the way, over my 28 years of traveling the world doing this work, is the most commonly weak frequency among women. Men are generally weak around the middle of the octave, around E or F, and women tend to be weak around D and C. But that's a generality. I generally don't use generalities. I like to be very specific in everything that I teach and I do. But sometimes it's appropriate in talking about the world or whatever is going on, and comparatively with the specificity of things. And so, as I say, that's just something that I've noticed and can be useful to apply to my practice, and noticing where women are commonly weak and where men are commonly weak. But each person has their own unique frequency pattern. No two people are alike. And so in any event, as I was saying, you can master this and have control over it because it doesn't take any of your time. So if you need 3 frequencies, let's say you need C and F sharp and B flat, let's say those are your weak frequencies. So let's say you need to listen to them 6 minutes each, okay, depending on how weak they are. I'm just throwing out arbitrary numbers. So if there's 3 notes and I recommend 6 minutes each, 3 times 6 is 18 minutes. So, well, usually it's a little more than that. Let's say 8 minutes. You need to listen to them. So 3 times 8 is 24 minutes. Okay, so let's say your daily homework could be 24 minutes a day. It's important to do it every day. But when we're given a daily task, we kind of want to shy away from that because it looks like too much. We're going to remember to do this every day, 24 minutes a day. Well, like I said, you don't have to interrupt what you're doing. If you have some headphones and you have it in your phone, or you have it in a stereo, or you have it in your Walkman, or wherever you have the sound, it's fine. You can be listening to it on your stereo while you're on your computer. If you have a sound device in your car, you can listen to it in your car while you're driving to work or driving home or going to the store. If you have it in your home, you can play it in your kitchen, or your dining room, or your living room on your stereo while you're having lunch or dinner. So 24 minutes is nothing. You could do the whole 24 minutes while you're, getting dressed, or putting on your makeup, or walking the dog, or, whatever you're doing. So it doesn't interrupt anything. Your ears are free. So that's one of the wonderful things about sound therapy is it's easy, it's convenient, and it's inexpensive. I mean, diagnostic sound analysis costs $185. It's a 90-minute procedure. And as I mentioned earlier, it includes a lot more than just the diagnostic analysis. It includes an overview, sound therapy. It includes your personal chart that I do by hand while you're on the microphone. It includes the interpretation of your chart, what's strong and weak, Q&A. You'll have questions from it. I answer your questions. Then it includes the sonic prescription, an instructional sheet that gives you guidance in terms of how many minutes for the sound that, goes in for the entrainment. And then the other important point is the toning release work for the excess frequencies, which I didn't address, that I should, I think, at least briefly address here, because that does take some time. The entrainment takes no time at all, other than to, turn on your sound device and to adjust the volume. I mean, it doesn't take any time at all. You can listen to it while you're doing other things for the entrainment. But the toning release work, admittedly, is going to take a little time. It doesn't take much time, and you don't have to do it every day. But what I usually recommend for people is to do it at least twice a week. If you do toning release, if you do at least 15 minutes of toning, vocal toning, twice a week, you're good to go. That will release blocked energy, the blockages that prevent your healing. Blockages in the brainwave pattern that come from excess frequencies. And you might be wondering, where do these excess frequencies come from? Well, they come from actually our body's natural self-healing system. Our bodies, as I mentioned earlier, are tremendous healing devices. If you ever thought you had a healing from a sound bath or from some, sound that you didn't expect, or one of these, imitation sound healers out there, like there are in California. Give credit to yourself, to the body, rather than the sound bath or the sound healer, because in all likelihood, they don't really know what they're doing. They're just kind of guessing. They have good intentions and they're trying to help you perhaps, but they really, in most cases, don't know what they're doing because they're not, certified sound therapists. And so if you have a healing in any of these kind of circumstances, it's your body's natural self-healing system that kicked in. Sometimes it can kick in during relaxing sounds of a sound bath, which is what they are. I talk about the 3 R's, or 3 types of sound. The first is relaxing sound, which is helpful and useful. We all need some relaxing sounds from time to time, but they're not healing sounds. And then the second R, the second type of sound, is release sounds. Release sounds move energy to cleanse the body. Just like we cleanse the body in taking a bath or a shower, vibrationally we cleanse the body with release sounds. Now, we may not call it toning, but you're doing toning release sounds every day. When you cough or you sneeze, but also when you moan and when you groan. And the biggies, laughing and crying, are very big forms of releasing, and we always feel good after them. Laughing is a wonderful feeling that we get during and after a good laugh. And crying, even though it could involve sadness or emotional pain, we still always feel good after a good cry because we released blocked energy, and it always feels good. So connect the dots and understand these things, that relaxing sounds and releasing sounds are a part of the healing process, but in and of themselves, they're not healing. It's the third R, regenerative sound. Regenerative sound is the real healing sound, and that's twofold again. It's twofold. The first aspect of regenerative sound is vocal harmonics and overtones. And this is what I'm doing, teaching next week. And next Saturday's workshop is how to create, there's going to be 16 exercises on how to create healing harmonics and overtones with the voice. People say, hear me do it, and they say, oh, there's no way I could do that. Yes, you can. People have so much fear around the 5th chakra and around the voice. They have to get over it. And so, yes, you can do it. I've taught it to teenagers. I've taught it to seniors. I've taught it to people all over the world that don't speak English. I've taught it to Japanese people in Japan, to Chinese people in Hong Kong and Shanghai and in Taiwan. I've taught it to, Bulgarian people in Bulgaria. I've taught it in Egypt, even inside the King's Chamber, the Great Pyramid of Giza, as mentioned earlier. All over, in every major city in the United States. So I know it works, and I know anybody can learn it. It just takes, like anything, it takes a little practice. And the people that love toning and healing, get to it, cleave to it right away, immediately. And they like to do it sometimes every day, like I do. But you don't have to do it every day. If you do it just twice a week, that's sufficient. If you're not a toner, you're not passionate about it like I am and most of my students, just do it twice a week for your own good health and wellness, for the release work. So you have the entrainment that doesn't take any time at all, just listening to harmonics and overtones in the pitches or frequencies that your sound analysis reveals is weak and is where it's important to entrain. And then twice a week, do your toning release week to release that pent-up energy, that blocked energy that starts in the first 6 or 7 years of our life before we start to armor ourselves. We armor ourselves emotionally around the age of 6 or 7 because to kind of protect ourselves from schoolmates, teachers, not to mention even our parents. But the first 5 or 6 years of our life, we're like little sponges, as psychologists, child psychologists know, and we absorb all this toxic energy of shame, blame, anger, all the things, that even our loving parents have, even if they were loving and took good care of us, as my parents did, they still had their insecurities and weaknesses, and we take that on. And most adults are carrying this around with them unless they do my workshop and they learn how to release it. That's what we did last week, or the week before, actually the week before last, with the sonic detox, the detoxing the mind body.
Hi there, everyone. This is Neil with Portal to Ascension, and I want to just take a moment here, just a quick minute after this video. Firstly, the video that you just saw is one of the many event productions that Portal to Ascension that I've created over the years, created hundreds of events, and now we have an archive that's kind of like Netflix for consciousness on our website. I'm just going to show you really quick how you can sign up right now and view and navigate hundreds of hours of presentations, many of them, most of them for free, and utilize the Portal to Ascension platform. So you go to the website, portaltoascension.org, you type in your name, email. Pretty soon we're relaunching a new website, so everything's going to look a little bit different, but pretty much the same thing. Go to the website, enter your name, email, click sign up. You'll then, within a few minutes, get an email sent to your sent to you that will have login information with the temporary password to log into the site. You then go to login, you enter your email address, the password given to you, and you click login. And this will take you directly into the back end of our website where you can navigate all of the footage that's available to you. And you can see here, you can type and start searching for a speaker, topic, whatever you want, true world history, William Henry, you can type anything over there. You can look at, you can browse by category: advanced technology, ancient civilizations, ascension, conference, conscious business, conspiracies, divine feminine, evolution of consciousness, extraterrestrial awareness, hot chakra, holistic healing, and so on and so on and so on. And then you can even browse by speaker here, and you can see on the right hand side it starts with Adam Apollo in alphabetical order, and you can browse by each speaker and look at their videos as well. And the way it works is we have it all split up here: my webinars, which is where we are right now, my watch list, so you can add things to your watch list, watch later, and then documentaries, where you can watch documentaries, and interviews that we've done. All the presentations are laid out in the grid over for you here. All you have to do to watch one is click on it, and there you go, it's right here. We also have suggested webinars for you, the description, the speaker info, the speaker bio page. So it's really become a one-stop shop for consciousness. So if you want to check out the full presentation of what you just saw, if you want to check out any other of these presentations, or just have this place, this amazing resource for you that's a one-stop shop for all things consciousness, where we're not only do we have all this content and footage from the past, but we're constantly creating events and footage every single week. We do around 110 events a year at this point. 80% of them are online. So go ahead and sign up. Go to portaltoascension.org and take a look at all the amazing information that we have there for you.